Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. This is Maro. In this video, I wanted to say a few things about the Verizon's Warrior Championship, which completed over the weekend, comment on the event, and discuss why the World of Warships game that I play does not resemble what I watched over the weekend. In the description and in this video, I will mark the different parts of the video, so please feel free to jump to the part that is of interest to you. Before I get into the video, I would like to thank everyone who subscribed to my channel. Over the weekend, we hit a milestone of 50 subs. Yay! Which is a great success for this micro, or should I say nano channel. So thank you all for subscribing to my channel. This is very dear to my heart, so I very much appreciate your support. Now, moving on to this video. As you may already know, Verizon, a US telecom company for you outside the United States, sponsored the first ever cash prize World of Warships tournament. The prizes were $15,000 for the first place, $10,000 for the second place, and $5,000 for the third place. The event itself consisted of two rounds: the qualification round, that we didn't see, and then the regional and international finals that were streamed over the weekend. Some of the best World of Warships clans from Europe, North America, Asia, and Russia got to compete in the tournament. Some of these may already be familiar to you from the previous events, and if you play higher tiers, you may have already ran into some of these players. When that happened, hopefully they were in your team. The battles were 9 versus 9 using tier 8 ships. CVs were not allowed. Now, looking from outside the event, it was a great success. It was for a good cause. The battles were quite interesting to watch. Flamu and Ichiban provided great telecasting. It's not easy to imbue games with such excitement, enthusiasm, and knowledge, but they did a superb job. By the time the finals came around, I was waving my fists in the air, celebrating a very close 0-7 victory against War, as if it was a football, or as it's known here in the States, a soccer match. My wife looked at me funny when I told her it was a game stream from a tournament. And from what I saw, I don't think it was just me feeling that way. At one point, there were close to 60,000 viewers on Twitch, which in my own very unscientific way is probably a record for this game. Even my son was impressed by the numbers. Now, not everything was great. There were spawn issues here and there, so the games had to be restarted. The quality of picture for some of the studio team members was poor. I know in this COVID world, you can't fly everyone to the studio. Unfortunately, it showed. The sound and images were off. On Saturday, the first day of the tournament, there were issues around camera. It appears World of Warships was experimenting with camera control and took it away from Flamu, making for a very disjointed experience. You would hear Flamu and Ichiban excitedly saying something, but on the screen, you would see something else. Mostly cinematic images of ships sailing. That didn't make a lot of people very happy. The chat was going from helpful remarks to a healthy dose of criticism to both at the same time. Nevertheless, World of Warships got their act together, fixed it. They returned the control back to Flamu and the issue was put to rest. In retrospect, with 2020 hindsight, the big event like this probably was not the best time to experiment, but you can't fault them for trying to innovate and look for ways to improve. The studio team came with the usual suspects. You got Chrysanthos, Statsbloke, Sea Raptor, and then there was a new addition from Australia, Dobby M8. Now, he was up at 3 a.m. or so so it must have not been an easy task for him, but he managed to look pretty fresh. I guess I'll have what he's having. Lastly, we have Mr. Conway. He was more of a pop-in presence, in and out. Not sure what the dynamic between him and Santos is, but Santos never misses a chance to take a swipe at him. Now, for the US viewers, you had Calvote, Hapafoder, and Lord Zad, who picked up the coverage of the Verizon Branches Challenge. It was played by the US military veterans, who are regular World of Warships players, and they were competing for a prize pool to donate to their favorite charities. And I think that was another nice touch. World of Warships' involvement with the Wounded Warrior Project, a veteran support organization, and Verizon's participation and generosity deserve praise. There were regional differences on display in the studio though. You got C-Raptor and Dobby M8 choosing a more formal TV sportcaster look versus the European low-key, more relaxed look. I'm partial to StatsBlock, so I also missed Flambass's commentary and their friendly banter, but these are individual preferences. In any case, they all did a very good job to fill the air between the games. It would have been nice if they had instant replay as a visual aid in going over key plays, but one step at a time. I think over the last few tournaments, there's been an effort to raise the game when it comes to these types of events, and it's showing, so kudos to Wargaming. Another member of the crew that should be mentioned was the chat. At times, pretty hilarious. I minimize the screen when in studio, make sure I catch the latest live feedback. Obviously, there were tons of smart plays on introducing the Makarov affair into the chat. It appears, or at least it was alleged, that Wargaming was banning viewers who used the word in chat. So the chat members got pretty creative in how to put it in there for everybody to see. Santa jokes were many, and wit was on display often enough for me to keep an eye on it. But what made the tournament especially notable is the gameplay. All of these individual players are extremely good, and seeing them battle it out in ships like North Carolina, Vladivostok, Baltimore, Edinburgh, Albemarle, Kidd, Orkan, Cossack, Le Terrible, just made it feel more accessible and closer to everyday player. You were seeing what's possible to do with ships that are mostly available to everyone. This was not an event like the most recent King of the Seas tournament, where you had your Ohios, Shikoshimas, Burgones, Stalingrads, Smolensk, Somers, ships that are either locked behind steel and research point walls and are mostly inaccessible to the average player. While you still see the same great skilled plays, it's not as close to your everyday experience with the game. I can imagine how lower tier tournaments could be even more exciting and pleasing to watch. Tier 7, Tier 6. Should I even go on a limb here and say Tier 5? But beyond that, what struck me the most is how removed the tournament gameplay was from my everyday experience in World of Warships. First, let me start with team play. We all know our ability to coordinate with teammates is less than ideal in random games. We have chat, but that's not used as often and it's not as easy as voice. I don't know why after so many years we still can't talk to our teammates. My son plays Fortnite and he has no problems talking in his game. In clan battles, teams can use Discord for voice communication, but a feature like that in the game would make a huge difference. It doesn't even have to be for the entire team. They can break it into divisions of 3 or 4, whatever works. It would make the game more interactive, allowing players to coordinate better, and perhaps the teams would start playing better as a result as well. And while this is achievable in clan settings, not all of us are either in competitive clans, can play at specified times, or even want to play clan battles versus just a casual random battle. The second point is tiering. isn't this game big enough to be able to provide for same tier experience? Being up tiered is quite painful. For example, at tier 8 you have 5 equipment slots. One tier down, at tier 7 you get 4. And one tier up, at tier 9 you get 6. So that means everyone in tiers below is immediately at a disadvantage. It forces you to have to adjust your game in so many different ways. There are too many ships across different tiers, making it hard to keep count of all the different stats, pros and cons of individual ships. I don't think that many players would agree that the rewards you get for being up tiered are worth the experience, if you choose to call it that. Keep in mind that some ships up tier better than others, so that's an additional con for the player. I know ranked provides an opportunity to play at the same tier, but that mode is so full of other grievances that in no way would that currently be a mentally healthy way to solve this issue. And lastly, and this is a big one, the lack of, to borrow from Jingles, fun police. Now, you all know what I'm talking about. Yep, that's right. No aircraft carriers. The battles I watched had a lot of Raider Edinburghs. Let that sink in. Les Terribles, Cossacks, Les Fantasques. That made me think I must have missed something when I played those ships. And then I realized the reason these ships were selected is that there was no air threat or relentless spotting that we all have to endure in CV games. Les Terribles AA defense rating is a 7. Cossacks, an 8. The only DD with any real AA is Skid with a rating of 56. So many have opined on the CV's role in the games and how they balance or imbalance the game, so I'm not going to go into that. But what I do think this and the COTS tournament prior to this one prove is that it's not the same game when you add CVs to it. The concealment plays, the games of cat and mouse, importance of spotting, the tension of not exactly knowing where your opponents are, goes immediately out of the window once you introduce the carriers to the game. What you're left with is more of a slugfest of trying to group for some combined AA benefit while duking it out with HE over distance. For example, there were so many great plays in this tournament. In the opening game, 07 versus War on the Sleeping Giant map, destroyers and cruisers running to the west of the A cap. 100 seconds in, War lead destroyer runs into 07 cannonade of fire. That would not happen with CV. 07 would have been spotted. As a matter of fact, any pre-encounter surprise positioning is eliminated once you add CV to the mix. Moreover, in that same game, 07 destroyer goes into the cap, the A cap, caps it and holds it almost to the end of the game. And the destroyer that's doing this is Les Terribles. No smoke, no AA to speak of. The chances of pulling that off in an everyday game with similar skill players is practically 0. Throughout the tournament there were multiple instances of battleships, cruisers, destroyers being stationary. I would like to see you try to do that in a CV game and not get clobbered. We saw great players do many amazing feats, and while some of us would like an opportunity to attempt to do the same, even if we lack the skill necessary to do it, unfortunately, we will never have a chance. We're not playing the same game. And my point here is not that CVs need to be banned. It's that there must be a way to offer more than one way for players to play this game and give us an opportunity to experience the game without needing to be in a clan or compete in a tournament. With that, we come to the end of this video. I'd like to congratulate all the teams on their great place in the Verizon Warrior Tournament, and especially the 07 on winning it. Great job by Wargaming, Plamu, and Ichiban as telecasters, as well as all the studio panels. And lastly, I would urge the World of Warships to take into account some of the feedback they're getting from their players. A lot of what I discussed here is not new, and by now I would think there are only so many ships we can still add to the game. It'd be nice to see them redirect some of their development effort in a direction where even the random players get to experience the game the way it was played during the tournament, and some may say the way the game is meant to be played. For the rest of you, I wish you the best of luck on the high seas. Maro, out.